How come it's not popping up on my YouTube page? Randy?
Scrolling down to where it was.
There it is.
Waiting for To the Top Crane. So is it on the old one or?
No, it's on the new one. I had to make a new one. Okay, so now I need to edit it. And you're gonna make it live.
So you've got the video up on your page?
Yeah. We are going public in 3, 2, 1.
Public. Oh, public. Okay, that's why it hadn't showed up on my feed.
All right. Do we have anybody on here yet?
No. Oh, you are live.
Yeah, I am live. I am live. Let's see. I wonder if I'm going to have to go over and tell everybody to leave that other link.
I believe you did.
Yeah. Let's see. I had dickered with Dave. He said 10-4. So we'll see if he made his way over here yet. Videos by Al. There's videos by Al. We've got one so far. Here's dickered with Dave. I don't know what happened with that. I tried to get it brought up and it wouldn't let me use Google Hangouts, and I wanted to have a guest on with me tonight. And so I had to use Google Hangouts for that. But oh well, we got it now. I'm going to go back and delete that other link. That way people aren't confused by it.
All right.
Let's make this one unlisted.
While he's messing around with that, welcome everybody to the Top Crane live Q&A hangout and a possible special celebrity apprentice. Appearance. I am by far a celebrity, but I am G4 Outdoors. Name's Randy. Got Doug the Deer here with me. Channel's all about hunting and fishing and a little bit of this and that. A lot of tutorials on outdoor equipment. Appreciate everybody go over there and check out that channel. My goal is to beat Jimmy to 1,000 subscribers. It's not looking too good right now. He just subbed you. Thank you very much there, Dave. Yeah, he's making a big jump on his subscribers, so congrats to Jimmy on that. Sincere congrats.
All right. So I'm back. Sorry for cutting you off there, Randy. So Randy is my celebrity guest tonight. He is a good friend of mine, longtime friend of mine, probably close to 30 years. But I didn't announce my channel, and everybody knows I'm Jimmy with To the Top Crane. Typically, you don't see this side of me, though. Before we get too deep into this is Memorial Day weekend. So while everybody's having cookouts and camping and whatever it is they're doing Memorial weekend, don't lose sight of the reason why we celebrate Memorial Day weekend. It's pretty important. So the other important business we have, and I was going to kind of wait till we had more people jump in here, but I guess they'll just have to watch it at a later date because I've had this sitting on my desk since Thursday. This is a package from Logger Wade, and it is an exterior door handle according to the box. We're going to crack this thing open and see what Wade sent us.
Is that the one from Napa?
It is. It is from Napa.
Napa know-how.
So thanks, Wade, for sending me an external door handle or exterior door handle from Napa. I'm sure it will be very useful on any exterior doors I have. But let's see what's in the box. Oh, we have a bag. And let's see, here's a note.
Everything from Wade comes in part boxes.
So Wade says, thanks for the goodies you sent, bud, and thanks for taking us with you on the job site. I hope everyone likes the shirts. Logger Wade.
Awesome.
We have some Logger Wade stickers. So Wade, thanks for the stickers, buddy. I'm probably gonna see if I can get away with sticking one in the crane somewhere where everybody can see it, and then I'll toss one on my truck.
It's pretty cool.
Shirts. So here's one of the shirts. I don't know if everybody can read that. Yeah.
Champion logging vidges.
Oh, Wade needs to copyright that vidges. Let's see, what else do we have in here? I think he sent shirts for every member of my family. So that's pretty cool. So I'm assuming that's probably for my daughter.
He has his own website?
Yes, he does. Logger Wade does have his own website. Here's another one. I apologize for my dogs. They will bark from time to time. It'd be hard to find that one.
Now those are those vinyl printed?
Actually, it feels like screen printing. And another one. So thanks, Wade, for the shirts. We will definitely try to get a family picture with all of them. Throw it in a video.
Family video would be cool with those on.
Yeah, my wife and daughter still think I'm crazy for the YouTube thing, and so I doubt I'll probably get them in one, but we'll see. Who else we got? We got Blue Wolf on here. Hey, Blue Wolf. So far we got Blue Wolf and Dickard with Dave. I can't see how many people are actually on. Oh, dogs.
Yeah, I don't know where to see that at.
Yeah, I don't know. 12 watching. I did see the German fire cranes, Blue Wolf. Thanks for sending me the links. I opened an email account specifically for To The Top Crane. If you guys want to reach me, it's tothetopcrane@gmail.com. So that's hey Garnold, how are you doing this evening? But that email will go straight to my phone. If you send it if you send an email between the hours of say 6 a.m. and 5 p.m. and I don't respond, it's probably because I'm operating a crane and making a video.
Or sleeping.
Or sleeping. Or sleeping in the crane while making a video. But, we had a couple questions on that video that I asked everybody to throw some questions out, and I forgot to bring home any rigging or anything, so I guess we can talk about some rigging. I may make a video in the future of just nothing but rigging. We'll go over some of that stuff. But that was one of the questions Josh Wellner asked was rigging. We use various kinds. We use steel chokers. We use nylon and polyester rigging. A lot of shackles. And like I said, I will get that stuff in a video. I'll just make a rigging video.
Dave, I'm going to hit a button right now. You might see a change in that.
Would you you hit that like button for Dave or for me?
It's for the video.
Oh, all right. Well, hit one for Dave too.
You now have one thumbs down.
Thanks, Randy.
No problem. 2. Thank.
Did you really give me a thumbs down?
I did, but one just popped up.
Perfect. All right. Videos by Al. He asked a specific question. When can we drive with the boom on the carrier, and when do we have to put it in the dolly? Whenever we're running around our local area, we can leave it typically on the carrier. Anytime we have to get out on the highway or do any interstate travel, or venture outside of our commercial zone, then we have to have it in the dolly. And what the dolly does is it spreads the gross weight of the crane out over more axles, and we have to have that for legal bridge laws. Otherwise, the weight of the crane is too concentrated, and they won't allow us to travel over any bridges. So hope that answers your question, Al. Typically, when you see me run down the road with the boom over the front, it's because we're local. We're nearby our shop. Ken Gamble asks, slings, wire rope, cable, material, capacity, lifespan. The slings and like our steel chokers and whatnot, all of the lifespan on those is pretty much determined by how we treat it. So if we take it out and tear it up, it's not going to live very long. But if you take care of it, then that stuff can have almost an indefinite lifespan. It just has to be inspected. It has to be inspected before each use, and it has to have a certified inspection every so often.
There was a follow-up question on that by Blue Wolf. Does your rigging have to have tags on the woven ones to use them?
Yes. Yes, if the tags aren't on the rigging, then the rigging is technically no good. Also, the wire rope on the crane, the lifespan on it is also dependent on maintenance. So as long as you keep it lubricated, you try to keep it out of the dirt. I mean, there's times where you can't help but get it in the dirt when you're putting the jib and stuff in. So, but as long as you try to keep it clean and keep it lubricated and you don't get it into a bunch of stuff, like I protect the cable on my crane like it's a newborn baby. I don't let people get it up against steel structure, into trees, or any of that stuff, because that cable is extremely expensive. It's got a manufactured button on the end of it instead of a regular becket, which a becket, you run a cable through a socket and then you put a wedge in and you pull it tight. So you can, if you damage your cable, you can actually cut a foot or 10 or even 100 feet off a cable and still use it. Where mine has the button on it, the cable has to be taken off and shipped out and have a new button installed. So it's a very expensive process. The material, I may go over some heads with this. There's different kinds of material that make wire rope for cranes out of. And wire rope is, I believe, anything over 3/8 of an inch in diameter. Anything below 3/8 of an inch is considered cable. But they have PS, IPS, EIPS, and EEIPS. And what that is the PS is plowed steel, which is the softest, least durable kind of cable or rope material.
What was the P for?
Plowed, like you put a plow in the ground and turn the ground over. And then they have IPS, which is improved plowed steel, so it's a little bit stronger. And then EIPS, which is extra improved, and then EEIPS, which is extra improved. And I know that
boy, the engineers worked hard on that one, didn't they?
Oh yeah, and I'm sure that's 100 years old. So they just never have changed it. Capacity is dependent on rope diameter, sling material, and also like when it comes to nylon slings, nylon and polyester vary, and they actually make them out of Kevlar too. But nylon, when it gets wet, it loses capacity. Polyester does not. So I typically try to run polyester everything just in case we get caught in the rain. We don't have to worry about it. But
it's interesting. I never knew that.
Yeah. So hopefully that covers Ken's question. We had a question from old Randy at G4 Outdoors, which happens to be on here with me. Can any bearded hoodlum run the crane? I think if I remember right, it can any bearded hoodlum off the street run the crane? I would venture to say that majority of people probably couldn't get it started.
That was an honest question, just in a funny way. What I was, if I was on here, I was going to explain myself. No, I guess the rest of the question is there.
Yes, it is. So how much schooling? I worked as an oiler for about 4 years before I ever thought about getting in the seat. And what the oiler does is they assist the operator in setting the crane up. They assist with rigging. They assist with signaling. And you basically are learning on the job on what to do and what not to do, some of the situations you're going to get into, and then also crane setup and tear down. So it takes some time, some significant time. And then even then, before you're allowed to take the crane certification test, and it varies by place, but the crane certification I've got, you have to have 1,000 hours of verifiable crane related experience in the previous 12 months before you're even eligible to take the test. And then you get to study this book, which I'm actually studying it again because I have to renew my crane certs next year. And so I'm going over everything again just to make sure that I don't have any issues on that test.
What's the intervals? What's the intervals on recertification?
5 years. And the test that I took is it's a pretty difficult one. It's got a 57% first time pass rate nationwide. So only 57% of people that take it pass the test the first time. And then on Randy's question, he asked, G4 winning the race to 1,000. I don't know. It's going to be a toss up. But somehow I gained some pretty serious momentum today. It was on some comments on Ron Pratt's channel. And that definitely has given me a big boost. Blue Wolf, who is the other guy? Sorry. Blue Wolf, that is Randy with G4 Outdoors. He's a really good buddy of mine. He has a great channel. You guys need to go check him out. It's a lot of outdoor stuff and comedy and just reviews on stuff. So if any of you are outdoorsy, definitely go give Randy a look. If he beats me to 1,000, I will be happy.
Likewise.
And then on Randy, the last part of Randy's question, is the beard required? Yeah. If you ask my wife, she would say no, but the beard is required. It gives me something to do when I'm waiting to do something in the crane. So the beard's a requirement. Let's see. I'm trying to keep up with some of the questions, but
yeah, I'll go back to one. Can you do basic hand signals? Someone, it might be interesting. I am a train conductor for Union Pacific Railroad. So, yeah, I do a lot of hand signals myself. Bring them back, take them away.
That's your hand signals? All 2 of them?
A little more in depth, but yeah.
I can do some quick hand signals if everybody wants to see them. It would probably be better if we were sitting in the crane and you could see the function that the crane's doing as I'm doing the signal. But and sometimes I get signals that look like gang signs. I mean, it's crazy some of the stuff people will try to signal me with and expect me to do something. And when I get signals like that, I just sit there and stare at them with a dumbfounded look on my face. But so the signals that we use the most, at least that are going to pertain to my crane that you'll probably see in the videos. So this is cable up. So if they want me just to winch the cable straight up. So this is cable up. This is cable down. This is boom up, boom down. This is boom up and cable down. So what we would use that for is if they have a piece that they want to come towards the crane, but they want it to stay a fairly consistent level off the ground or wherever they're working off of, they would use this, and that would bring the piece towards the crane, but maintain its height. This is boom down and cable up. So it's the inverse of the other one. It will move the piece away from the crane and keep it a relatively same height off of the deck. let's see, we've got swing left and then swing right. This is stop. If you use both hands, that's emergency stop. So that's, hey, whatever you're doing, you need to stop doing it right this second. If we have two lines pulled, so like say I'm using both winches, I have the ball or two, like a ball and a block on the end of the crane. If we want to use the main line, like if they want me to cable up with the main, then they hit their head like this and then give me that signal. So that denotes that they want me to use the main line. And then if they want me to use the second winch, then they would touch their elbow and give me that signal. Extend. A lot of times people will do this and that's the actual signal, or sometimes people will just do this for extend. Retract. And on the crane that I operate, once it's set up, I don't extend or retract when they give me that signal. I typically don't extend with a load. And that was one of the questions, and I'll cover that in a second. Let's see, crawler cranes. They have different signals for travel. Typically it's this, or if they want to track with one track, then they will give the signal for stopping one track and whatnot. There's about 20 signals. I covered all of them that are going to pertain to the crane that I operate. And sometimes I get some that are just crazy. My favorite one's the arm wrestling signal. So I'll be sitting there, and if they want me to boom down, they'll do this. And I'm like, you want to arm wrestle? I'm a pretty good arm wrestler. We could probably get after that, but yeah, if I get a signal I don't understand, I typically don't respond with a movement. So hopefully that covers the signals question. Wayne Tharp, is Wayne on with us? I don't know if he was back in there or not. I'm trying to keep up with the questions, but it's not working. Oh, there he is. There's Wayne. Hours on duty. Yes and no, as far as the hours on duty. Some job sites do have a requirement on it. Some job sites don't. I've actually been in a situation where I've worked 28 hours straight, which sucks. You nap when you can. But yeah, we do a lot of emergency plant shutdowns. We'll work on utilities. We do stuff with the railroad. And as Randy can attest, if there's something going on with the railroad that they need a crane, they don't care how long it takes to get it done. They just want it done. And they don't care what it costs. They just want it done.
ASAP at any cost.
Yeah. And then Wayne had kind of a two-parter. Does the operator's judgment overrule the load charts in an accident? No. The load charts are the Bible when it comes to the crane if there's an accident, because the load charts were written by the engineers that designed the machine. So if, God forbid, there was an accident and I was doing something that was outside the load charts, I would be the one in trouble for sure. If the crane failed and I was inside the capacity of the crane and I had everything set up to the manufacturer's specifications, then that responsibility would fall on the manufacturer as long as the maintenance was done, the inspections were current, and everything was being followed by the manufacturer. And then operate a fixed or mounted crane. You want to know if I've ever operated a fixed or a mounted crane? Yeah, Blue Wolf. Oops, it fell over. Does not work. True story. Like a fixed or mounted crane, like an overhead crane, is that what you're asking? Or something that's like on a pedestal, like a jib style crane or whatever? I've operated cranes on service trucks and whatnot, but never a fixed to the ground type of crane. David, 1967 Abel. I think that's your name. I hope I didn't screw that one up. Is it possible to extend with weight on the hook? And it is possible, but you have to make some preparations for it. I don't know if everybody has watched the video on how the boom extends. If you haven't watched it, I encourage you to go back and watch it because that's more view time for me. But it's pretty neat how the boom extends. It uses one extend cylinder, and it locks the sections into the next section below it. So it's a pinning boom is what they call it. In order to extend with weight on the hook, you have to have the extend cylinder pinned into the section that you want to move, and the boom section unlocked from the one below it before you can ever start to lift, because it won't unlock itself from the section below it with a bunch of weight on it. So there's two sets of pins inside the boom. One pins the boom section to the telescope cylinder, and then the other set of pins lock the boom section to the section below it. So those boom pins that are locked into the section below it have to be retracted, and the telescope cylinder has to be pinned to the section that you want to move before you ever start the lift. Otherwise, you can't do it.
That would be his 4th video in his lineup from the beginning.
Oh, thanks, Randy.
Not a problem.
Okay, so there's the questions. Have I ever run a tower crane? I think like on a high rise. That must have been what they meant by a fixed crane. I will not run a tower crane. I didn't lose nothing up there. I got no reason to be up there. I had an old guy tell me one time, he said, in order to ensure your survival, you never put yourself higher than corn or lower than potatoes. And there is a lot of truth to that. So I've got no interest in crawling up the side of a tower crane, peeing in a bucket, and roping it down for someone to go dump it. There's guys out there that like that stuff, and they can have it. And then Chris Rowland asked, and this is a pretty good question, and I kind of take it for granted, I guess, that I deal with this stuff every day, but reeving and deciding the number of lines, does speed versus capacity ever come into the decision? So the way we decide the number of lines or falls, that's technically called, is the crane operated. It's got 16,750 pounds of single line pull. So if I have the cable just hanging over the end of the boom and I have the pill or the ball on it, then it will pick up 16,750 pounds gross. Now, if I need to pick up something that's 24,000 pounds, then I need 2 parts of line. So I have to pull the cable through the block back up to the end of the crane, and that gives me 2 parts of line. Each time I do that, it adds 16,750 pounds of line pull to the lift. So that we determine how many parts of line we need based on how heavy the object is we're lifting. I hope that covers that. If I need to go into more in depth, or if I need to go more in depth on that, let me know. And then does speed versus capacity ever come into the decision? It absolutely does. So if I'm setting iron for a bunch of people and I'm just constantly swinging as fast as I can and I'm going back to the same place and the stuff that I'm picking up isn't heavy, then I will use 1 part of line because I don't need the capacity. But with 1 part of line, that thing will fly. I mean, it'll wind up cable fast enough. Actually, you can unwind it so fast that you can bird nest the drum on the winch. But
that will actually those will actually backlash on you.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you're not careful, they will definitely backlash. So when you're running your winch in high speed, you typically, sorry about the dogs again, but you typically want to get into the control pretty slow and then work your way into high speed. Because if you just cram the winch lever forward, it will backlash the drum.
Tell me your voice password to continue.
Oh, I don't know what that is on my phone. That was a strange message. But anyway, so we will knock it down to 1 part of line to go faster. If I have 4 parts of line in, the block moves really slow. Dickard with Dave, do I have cameras on my drums or mirrors? I have cameras on both winches that are in there from the factory. So I can keep an eye on both of them. I can't watch them both at the same time, but I can switch from one to the other and see what my winches are doing. And It's really handy. I get questions on the clicks, and you guys will hear clicks in my videos. The click denotes that the drum is turning. It also gives you some reference on how much line you're putting out. It depends on how many parts of line are in it, but typically it runs between 1/4 and 1/2 inch per click. But also, if I'm doing something that requires me to move 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch, which it does happen, then I will watch the camera and I can see the drum moving before it ever starts clicking. The Yeti wants to know how many grease fittings or grease nipples are on the crane.
Follow that question up with, do you use a electric grease gun or not?
I do not. I don't over grease that crane. There is such a thing as putting too much grease in a fitting. But I'm unfortunate that the thing has auto lubers on all the grease fittings in the lower, or most all of them, and auto lubers in most all of the grease fittings on the upper. I did just recently grease the boom and change the hydraulic oil. And guess who forgot to turn their camera on? That would be this guy. So I started making the video. I've got a little bit of footage of the telescope cylinder inside the boom. And then I got in a hurry and completely forgot to turn my camera back on for the rest of it. So I apologize. But there isn't that many grease fittings on the boom. There's about 14, maybe 16.
That is something that I do remember seeing. You had about a gallon jug of grease on the side of the machine that I asked you what that was for, and it was just a self-pumping lubricating device.
Yep, it's an auto luber. It's on a timer, and every so often it just shoots grease into the fittings. Up north of the 49th, that's what apprentices are for. Heck yeah. And for those that are new to cranes, the crane I operate is what they call a hydraulic crane with a pinning boom. So there's old friction cranes, and then there's hydraulic lattice boom cranes. There's typically those are on tracks, and then there's all kinds of different cranes. There's crawler hydraulic cranes, and as time goes on, there's going to be more and more of different stuff. But if you're looking for information on what I operate, it is a hydraulic crane, and it's an all-terrain crane with a pinning boom. And since we changed the hydraulic oil, I can tell you it holds $4,000 worth of hydraulic oil in the upper, which is 230 gallons.
Is that just for the boom?
That's just for the upper part of it. That's just the crane portion. So let's see, north of the 49th, what's your tonnage? The capacity is 200 American tons. But that's like 8 feet away from the center of rotation. So we will never pick up anything that's 400,000 pounds. I don't think it would be possible.
Do you know what weighs 400,000 pounds?
No, there's a lot of transformers and stuff that exceed that.
A locomotive.
Or a locomotive. But you know how hard it'd be for me to get a locomotive between my outriggers 8 feet away from the center of rotation to be able to pick it up? Now, I have picked up locomotives, just one end at a time. So we'll pick one end up and put on blocks and then pick the other end up.
Change out motors, or did you do something else?
Changing out traction motors. Let's see. You need to get a small crane cert for the Unimog winch. Blue Wolf, you have a Unimog? I'll let him get back to answering that. Oh, dogs. So I think my wife and kids just came home. That's why they're barking. Am I certified for more than the crane I run now? I am. I'm certified for all hydraulic cranes, large and small.
You're certified for heavier than what you're running right now?
If it's a hydraulic crane, I'm certified to operate it. And yes, I do 2 crane picks. Blue Wolf's got a Unimog. Hats off to you, Blue Wolf. Oh, wow, I'm going bald. That's awesome. That's what happens when you sit in a crane and pull your hair out all day. I want a Unimog so bad. I don't even know what I would do with it, but I just want one. Actually, I know what I'd do with it. Whatever I wanted. Elite Earthworks sneaking in some live stream time. How you doing, Elite Earthworks? Thought you were out eating dinner with the family. Brandon is going to get in trouble. He's another up-and-coming channel that people need to go check out. Elite Earthworks owns his own, earthwork company. He's a small company. He's got a single-axle dump truck. Has a track skid loader and a mini excavator. Don't we all want one? Ken, yes, we do. Jerome Baker, member of Operators Local. I am a member of Local 101, the International Union of Operating Engineers. Turk 317, how are you doing? Journeyman Lineman. You guys are borderline crazy. But hats off to the linemen for keeping the power on for us every night and going out in the storms. And I mean, those guys have to work in every condition.
Yeah, they work when I call in sick.
Yeah, and they can't call in sick.
Yep.
So hats off to you, Turk. Oh, he's getting ready to be waiting on the wife. Well, Elite Earthworks, after I've been married for going on 19 years, and I can tell you might be waiting a while. Just the way that works. So Saskatchewan, and then Dickard with Dave's from Alberta. Is it still winter up there? Because it is blazing hot here. David McLean, can you critique my flag display? Boy Scout leader here. Look it up. Absolutely, you can critique me. It was kind of an impromptu deal, but I wanted to get a flag in for Memorial Day weekend.
Didn't even notice it till he said it.
So I'm one of those guys that I take critiques well. I mean, that's how we all learn. Plus 24 Celsius. I'll have to convert that to Fahrenheit. I didn't pay attention to that part of school, evidently, when I was in 6th or 7th grade. Mark Mortensen. How are you doing, Mark? And 77 degrees. I was looking outside my window today, and I was looking at the street, and I think it was melting, and it's concrete. David McLean, you can nitpick. That's fine. I didn't let it touch the ground, though. I know that part of it. But I wasn't a Boy Scout, and I wasn't in the armed services, so I don't necessarily know what's wrong with my flag. Does it need to be turned around the other way?
I believe the stars need to be on the other side.
Oh. Well, if you're watching on a phone and you hold it up to a mirror, that will line it out. Hey, Josh Wellner, working on the boat. Oh, okay. Entertain him for a second, Randy. I'm going to straighten this thing out.
So you got the wife pressure, I guess, spraying the bottom of the boat. Good for you. Wish you could hand out some tips on how to get your better half to do things like that. And anyway, for the new guys coming in. I am Randy with G4 Outdoors. I have a YouTube channel. I'm partnered up with another guy. I am the outdoors part of the channel, and the other guy, Andrew, he is the fishing side of the channel. He's a very good fisherman. And he also owns his own lawn care YouTube channel called Cut and Clean. So he's partnered up with me on that. But anyway, I try my hardest to put out the best content, and I try to add some comedy in with that because nobody likes just a straightforward video unless you're watching Jimmy with To the Top Crane. Yeah, a lot of the fishing videos are just fishing. I try to add in whatever I can to that to make it my own style. So appreciate everybody to go over to G4 Outdoors and check that out. Where's G4 from?
Yeah.
Kansas City ish.
Did I get the flag? Are we good now?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for pointing that out to me, David. And I encourage any of you guys, if you want to critique me, by all means, let her rip. I mean, like I said, that's how we all learn. So are there stakes in this first to 1,000 bet? No, there's no stakes. There could be steaks on the grill, I guess. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. And I hold our law enforcement, EMS, and military in very high regards. My brother was he was actually in the Air Force for a while. He was a loadmaster on a 141, so that tells you how long ago that was. But I have a great deal of respect for those people that keep us safe, that dig us out of ditches, and that fix us before we go to the hospital. All right. So who else do we have rolling on here? I don't know how many people are tuned in. I can't see
17,
that.
17 at the moment.
17. Can't believe there's 17 people that want to stare at my beard.
You forgot I'm on here.
Oh yeah, David McLean. Did I get some subs from my comments on Ron? Yes, I actually, David, I got blown up with subs off of Ron Pratt's channel. And I didn't make those comments in anticipation of getting that. I mean, that Ron Pratt's got a great channel. I love what he's got going on. He's a very down-to-earth, God-fearing human being, and I definitely like his content, and so I commented. Oh, that guy's handsome beard. My wife doesn't seem to think so.
It's magical.
I don't know about magical. I did trim it a little bit. I had to trim my mustache, and then I trimmed some off the side. I had to trim it because whenever I was eating a hamburger or something, I was eating my mustache. Blue Wolf wants a rotator truck. Well, Blue Wolf, if you were in the United States, I might try to find a rotator to trade you for that Unimog.
I guess you're going to have to explain a Unimog to me.
A Unimog is an extreme four-wheel drive vehicle made by Mercedes, and it's Mercedes' version of, hey, I'm going to beat up the Hummer.
Those are the gigantic ones that they do silly off-road races with.
Some of them, yes. Yeah, like they use them in like the Dakar Rally and whatnot.
Yeah.
Addicted with Dave, who don't want a rotator. Actually, Dave, I can tell you who don't want a rotator, and I don't really want one because I can pick up a rotator.
There was a question that came and went by. I'm kind of interested in myself because you are looking into the sun quite a bit. Do you find that glasses matter?
Yes, they do.
But what are you wearing right now? You're just wearing DeWalt or something, Smith & Wesson glasses, aren't you?
No, these are polarized Oakleys.
Okay.
And and I'm not one of those people that says, "Oh man, you got to have the most expensive pair of glasses that you can have out there." But I'll tell you why I pick Oakley's. Oakley's have some of the most optically correct lenses out there. So there's not any distortion from looking through the top of the lens versus looking at the bottom of the lens. Polarized seems to help quite a bit, but there are times when polarized can have a negative effect. And some windshields on cranes, if they have a certain kind of solar tint, then the polarized has trouble. You have trouble seeing through them. And then also on your digital displays in some of the cranes, it blacks them out.
Yeah, I cannot read my radio in my truck unless I turn my head sideways.
So unfortunately, the crane that I operate, most of the that 200-ton Tadano, the displays in it aren't affected by my polarized glasses. But yeah, it seems like every time I set a crane up, I'm staring into the sun at some point. Let's see, Unimog is a Swiss Army knife. It is. The Unimog, you can actually put farm implements on them. So if you want a vehicle, you can drive through the desert and then go put a plow on and plow your field and then put a planter on the back of it. The Unimog is it. It's deep on the Unimog. The dog is standing on the back of the seat. Yeah. Dickered with Dave. Why did we pick Tadano over other brands? The company I worked for, we had an old 150-ton Tadano that I think we owned the very last one in the country, literally. And they had very good luck with it. It was starting to get a lot of age on it, and it was getting hard to get parts for, so they sold it. But we've also got the 100-ton Tadano, which is a Tadano ATF 80-4. It's 80 metric tons, 100 U.S. tons with 4 axles. And the thing's been flawless for better than 10 years. So they decided to stick with Tadano. And really, I've operated Grove, Liebherr, Tadano, Sani, Manitowoc. You name it, I've pretty much put my butt in the seat of it. And the Tadano is a great product.
Up north, thanks for stopping in. Have a safe day. She's got to go cook dinner.
Thanks for stopping in up north. I think she was a crane operator. If I remember right, in one of our comments, we were commenting back and forth on a video. She may have been the very first woman in her area to have crane certification, or one of the very first in that part of Canada.
Yeah, one of her comments that went by a little while ago is she's on one of the cranes that are way up in the air.
Yeah, she can have it. Make some videos. I would love to watch them. Stay safe, tires down. Yes. You always keep the dirty side down. The only time the tires come off the ground is when you're on outriggers. You guys are asking some great questions tonight. So if there's anything else you want me to cover, we can definitely talk about it. I've watched some of Dave's stuff too. He makes some pretty cool signs. And I think he does custom signs. So Dave, you may get to do something like that at some point, but bigger.
What does he make signs out of?
If I'm not mistaken, I think a multitude of materials, but his primary medium, I think, is wood.
Let's see. Would that be like burning wood or engraving, carving?
I don't know. I don't think a scroll saw is his friend. I saw a video recently of him whipping out the letter T on a scroll saw, and it got a little sideways. So I don't know. I don't know what he had in his solo cup at the time, but kind of colored outside the lines.
I hate that thing.
But he makes some cool signs, so everybody go check him out. Blue Wolf, I think he's over. Blue Wolf, didn't we determine you're like over in Germany somewhere? Or right around there? Let's see. You work out your lift radius from the tables on pickup. I'm not sure I understand that one completely.
I kind of get the gist of that, maybe. But when you're picking up your counterweights, you're always buzzing.
Oh, okay. Not always. It depends. If I've got 4 parts of line in, it doesn't beep at me. What that is I've recently been running 2 parts of line when we set up, just because it's a lot faster. And with 2 parts of line, I'm good for basically, you can call it 34,000 pounds or 33 and some change. My counterweight weighs 26,000, and then the weight of the block is 1,800. So what it's doing is it's telling me I'm getting close to capacity, but it's the capacity of the line pull, not the capacity of the physical capacity of the crane. So the way it's configured, it's because the computer is going to go off of the lowest possible capacity that for the configuration that it's in. It has to do that for safety. So if I were to put 4 parts of line in, I could probably pick up 64,000 pounds and not have any issues. Well, if I picked up 64,000, it would beep at me, but that's why it's beeping at me when I'm picking up counterweights. It's because I'm nearing the capacity of the line pull. If I just put 4 parts of line in, it wouldn't beep at me.
I want to take that question in a different direction. Just put do in the front of it.
Oh, do you work out your lift radius from the tables on pickup? Okay, but I'm not understanding the tables on pickup.
Probably your book.
My
Which
radius
would be yes.
Yes. I mean, some of the bigger picks that we get into, like if you guys watched that cell phone tower video where I had all of the inserts and stuff in, there was hours of planning involved in that, determining where to put the crane, how much counterweight I needed, just everything. I had about a
He said yes about the book.
Okay.
Sorry.
I had about a 3 to 5 foot window of distance I had to stay in, like from the center of that tower to the center of rotation on the crane. If I got outside of that window, I wouldn't be able to set the piece. So if I was too close to it, I wouldn't be able to boom up high enough. And the piece, I mean, they'd never get the piece lined up. And if I was too far away from it, then I wouldn't have enough tip height to get the piece on top of the piece below it. Oh, no need to apologize for cooking. I'm just glad you're here watching.
So that's an interesting statement you made. What is the your boom cannot go straight up and down?
No.
There's no reason for it to.
No.
What's the maximum
boom angle?
Yeah.
84 degrees.
So 5 degrees off. That's will that at max extension, will that just touch the side of the machine?
What's that, the block?
Yeah.
No, because even boomed up to 84 degrees with all of the jib and all of the boom on it, it's still about a 59 or 60 foot radius.
Oh, wow. That's the little toy you got on your table really puts it in perspective, but you don't realize how big that thing is and how minute an angle is at platform all the way out to 300 feet.
Yeah, it's a ways. Let's see. Could I go into the rigging ropes? What kind we use? We use steel chokers. When we use those a lot when we're demoing stuff, like cutting up steel I-beams or whatever, because the nylons or polyester cut pretty easily, and the steel is very resistant to being cut up. But most generally, we work with polyester continuous, which means they're like a big loop slings. And the reason why we typically try to use those is they're a lot easier to work with, and you don't have to worry about burrs. so you can handle them barehanded. Let's see. To determine that, do we use old school tapes or laser for distance measurements? I'm old school and I pull a tape measure on anything. Do we use a simulator? We do everything with paperwork. I use, I don't know where my engineering ruler went, but I use a 3-sided ruler. And I will sit down with my, I wish I would have remembered to bring my load charts home because they got the range diagram and stuff in them. But I can plot out a pick on a piece of paper. And then, like, I can go measure the site, get all my measurements, go plot it out on a piece of paper, and I can set my crane up exactly where it needs to be. And I know for a fact that when I get done setting the crane up, I can make the pick.
Is that from experience or school?
That's, I'd say from experience. I mean, and school, there's a lot of math involved. But a lot of it's experience. And I mean, I can sit in a chair and accurately measure the distance from myself to a tree and be within a few feet just by looking at it.
Yeah, you're pretty good with that. I'm lucky to know what north is.
For me, that way's north. Let's see, Blue Wolf. When they build cable car towers, it's amazing getting the cranes in place. We get into some pretty crazy places. Swedge or splice. Okay. So they sometimes, well, most generally, all of our stuff is swedged. I've seen some blemishes, but we try to stay away from blemishes. All of our bought rigging is swedges. And what that is, I'll explain it to everybody. When they terminate the ends on a piece of cable for a choker, so you got a steel choker. Actually, I might have a picture in this book. I'll see if I can find it real quick, fast, in a hurry. And hopefully everybody can see this. So these are the eyes on your choker. And the swedges are the collars down below. So what they do is they take the end of the rope and they unbraid it, and then they braid it back into itself and make a loop after they put these collars on, and then they hydraulically or mechanically crimp those swedges in place to lock everything together. Let's see, where do we get the precast we lift from? We typically don't do our own precast jobs. It's going to be dependent on the company that we're working for, since we're a crane rental company. So that precast is ordered by the customer. We just pick it up and put it in place. Lumpy oatmeal. Can I have a shout out, please? Yes, sir, you can. I don't know what content Lumpy Oatmeal's got on his page, but it might have something to do with lumps and oatmeal.
Lumpy oatmeal, you ought to start off with getting a good thumbnail there. That would help out a ton.
And based on your name, you're on here. If you don't use a bowl of oatmeal or a container of oatmeal, you are missing the boat. Dickard with Dave. Back to rigging school. Hey, thanks for subscribing, Lumpy Oatmeal. If you guys want to go to rigging school, I guess we can do that. I mean, there's a lot of material to cover in a couple hours. Monkey head. Hey, Monkey head's got a pretty cool looking thumbnail. That's a pretty happy looking individual there. Oh, Josh Wellner. Got to go relieve the wife from cleaning the boat. I'm waiting for Josh to send some lobster to Missouri. He's a lobster fisherman.
Oh, is he out on that kind of water?
Yeah, he's out on the East Coast. I believe right around the area of Maine, up there where those good lobsters come from that Josh hasn't sent me any of.
What's he waiting on?
Probably waiting for me to pay him for them.
Oh.
Funny boy. How far from KC are we? I'm an hour north, but I work in KC a lot. Blue Wolf. It's like the towing and pulling rigs we use to move things. I mean, those chokers, some people use them for towing, but what a lot of people don't understand is if you have a stuck piece of machinery or you need to pull on something and you're using a piece of rigging, that rigging can no longer be used for lifting.
Explain.
Because when you're pulling on something, you don't know how much weight you actually put on it. You don't know how much force was exerted on it, so you may damage the rigging. So at least that's always been ingrained into me from day one, is if you use a piece of rigging for pulling, you can no longer lift with it.
So that's a rule of thumb, not a rule.
I don't know. I'll have to go through the standard. I mean, the first 80 or so pages of this book is the OSHA standard that covers all of that. If I find it, I'll tell you. I got to review all that anyway. Let's see. I'm surprised Jimmy's tractor's not on here. Where's old Jimmy at? I'm going to send him a message. Did you answer the reeving versus lift speed question I sent you? I did answer that question, but I'll answer it again quickly. We do determine our reeving versus speed based on how much we're going to lift and how fast we got to get the pieces there. So if I got to get something there in a hurry and it's not heavy, then I use one part of line. If I got to pick up something heavy, then I have to use more parts of line. Crept away from who's graduating? Chris Rowland skipping out on someone's graduation to watch me talk. That's awesome. He's going to get in trouble. Stinky Trash. Can he get a shout out? Just hit that subscribe button. What kind of content does old Stinky Trash keep on his YouTube channel? Mark Mortensen, stretch the strands is bad. I think it's a rule. And I think so too, Mark. I do honestly think that it's written in the book as a rule that if you use it for towing, you can't use it for hoisting. Sorry, I'm taking a break real quick. I'm going to spur someone into action.
Chris says, shh.
Oh, he just said, shh. Oh, it's your granddaughter? You're going to get in trouble from your granddaughter when she sees this. Congratulations to your granddaughter.
While he's reading, I do work for the railroad. I am a conductor. If anybody's got any other serious heavy equipment questions, I'd be happy to answer any railroading questions.
I've got to follow up on a comment I just got to.
Been a conductor for 15 years for Union Pacific. It's been a pretty good job. Yeah. Beat you to that one, Chris or Dave. I travel from Kansas City to Jefferson City. Steam railroad is fun. The steam railroading, first of all, you have to be a qualified steam locomotive operator. And there's not very many of them, so there's a very select few in the United States that actually get to drive steam engines. My partner's with Canadian Pacific. Not that I know of, but that's a washy subject. We're partnered with so many railroads. Southern Pacific, Missouri Pacific. Propulsion of a locomotive. Is it electrical? Yes. A locomotive has a 12-cylinder, might be 16, might even be 18. I don't know what the world it is. It's a gigantic motor with pistons like this big, probably 2 feet around. So anyway, that is a engine. So it has a diesel engine in it, which turns a
Generator.
generator, and the generator supplies power to the motors, which turns the wheels. So we actually have some locomotives that don't have an engine in them at all. They're called pigs or slugs, that they're pulled behind another motor. It's just sent power to it. It has a whole bunch of weight on it, and all that power just goes to the wheels. Virtual Rail Fan. He's got a great channel. I really wish that I could run a camera on the engine, but it's a federal law that I'm not able to, so I can't put any rail video out, because I could really get some good footage, good interaction on the radios, because there's a lot of people that like to hear radio communication on the railroad, but I just can't get that while I'm on duty.
Hey, Randy.
Sir?
8:45. Sorry.
You're killing me.
Sorry I missed some of that, but yeah, crane engine it's just basically a big generator and air compressor.
887.
I saw. I wasn't going to humor you with that. And Chris Rowland, it is a pity that Randy can't make railroad videos, because he would be blowing up. He would just kill my channel.
I think so.
I think so too. Lumpy oatmeal will take a little bit of time for your thumbnail to show up.
It is a generator on wheels. And it's crazy how big that generator is. The generator is I don't even have anything to compare it to. A very, very large gun safe. Probably the size of my wife's Equinox. Which ironically, that's about how big the turbo is on it too.
So I'll give everybody an idea on the size of the old crane, since I've got this die cast one over here. See if I can pick it up without turning it over. Of course, if I'm going to turn a crane over, it should be this one. So there it is right in front of me, and I'm going to set it down to the floor. And there is an American flag hanging off of the end. That's black and white because my printer doesn't print in color. But it's on there.
Okay. In real life, how long is, I believe you call that jibbing. How long is the structural steel up there at the top?
This?
Yes.
43 feet.
Yeah.
So this is a 1/50th scale model.
And how long is each section of boom?
Actually, about 43 feet.
Wow.
Something like that. Set that back over there before I break it. Chris Rowland is the model to scale. It is absolutely to scale. It is 1/50th scale. Jerome Baker, how do I control the angle of the jib? The jib on the crane I operate, it's a hydraulic luffing jib. So it's got a hydraulic cylinder on it. And I flip a switch inside the cab, and that changes the function of the right-hand joystick from boom up and boom down to luffing up and luffing down. Some cranes have a fixed jib, and then some cranes also have a manually adjusting jib where you have to touch the tip on the ground, and then you pull some pins, and then you start booming up, and then you can lock it in a offset that you want. Dickard with Dave is exactly correct. 43 feet plus 197 feet of main boom. And then, like on that tower job, we had to put the inserts in the jib, so it gives me an extra 80 feet of jib. Starting a model collection. I've got a long ways to go to catch up with Let's Dig 18's collection.
Mark Mortensen, if you'll remember, possibly. 2 or 3 years ago, there was an Amtrak train that blew through 2 red signals doing full speed. He was caught texting 63 texts between those 2 signals, and that's at 75 miles an hour at 5-mile intervals that he did not see red signals. It's just like the streetlight signals, green, yellow, red, go, slow down, and stop. And so at any rate, the government found that he had done, what did I say? I'm going to say maybe 73, might have been 63 texts. In that time, he was letting people know that he was on his way there so that some foamers, that's what railroaders call people that take pictures of trains, they're foamers. He was letting them know where he's going to be at a certain time so that these foamers could take pictures. And he wound up rear-ending another train doing 70 miles an hour. But it was slower than that because he plugged the engine. He put the train in emergency before that and ran into the back of it. And that's when the government said, no more cell phones. No more cameras of, actually, no electronic devices except for standalone cameras and standalone calculators for our own work and safety. So thanks to that engineer, you don't get to see a lot of stuff.
That's why we can't have nice things.
So yes, Mike Rowe did that before that was allowed, or before that was illegal.
So Wayne Tharp asked, how far of an angle can the jib work at? The jib on my crane, since it's hydraulic, it's infinitely adjustable between 0 degrees and 40 degrees of offset. Bobcat. Hi, Bobcat. Blue Wolf, don't you have repeater signals? The next one. That's a railroad question.
Sometimes we do have distant signals, which are not, it's kind of a heads up. It's not an actual. So repeater signals, if we have a clear signal, it means the train in front of us is 5 to 15, 20, at least 20 miles in front of us. And in railroad terms, that's tailgating. And if you run up on a flashing yellow signal, it means they're 3 blocks ahead of you. Yellow signal means they're in 2 blocks ahead of you. And a red signal means they're in the block in front of you. And you can take that as city blocks if you want to, in perspective. So if you're tailgating someone 4 city blocks away, that's tailgating in railroad terms. But we do it quite a bit. If anybody's wondering, yes, it actually does take over a mile to stop a fully at-speed train. Also, interesting deal, Jimmy has found out himself. Just an engine alone, if you're running it as far as acceleration and stopping, it will put you against the back wall and it will throw you on the front deck.
Yes, it will. So back in my early days of operating equipment, shortly after high school, I worked for a company that I operated a machine called a car topper. And there's videos on YouTube of it. It's basically a modified backhoe. You climb up on top of rail cars and you move from car to car and unload whatever's in the cars. Well, I was in an engine, and it wasn't even an Evolution engine, which is the 6-axle. I think, 6 drive motors on an Evolution, 400 and some thousand pounds. And then the pre-Evolution was 4 drive axles and 262 or 72,000 pounds. But anyway, it wasn't even an Evolution engine. And we didn't have any cars, and I was standing at the front windows of the engine, and the engineer asked me, he said, have you ever seen how fast one of these will go? And I'm like, no, I didn't really think much of it. So he starts backing up and laying sand down on the tracks as he's backing up. And what they use sand as traction. It creates a gritty surface on the rail.
It's like a pre-stage burnout.
So he's backing up a little ways, dumping the sand down on the rail, and I'm still standing at the front windows. And then he sets the brakes and starts pouring the power to this thing and pops the brakes off. And I literally was bouncing around in the cab of that train like a BB in a boxcar. He slammed me against the back wall, and I didn't realize the whole time he was doing that he was dumping sand. And he said, as he bounced me off the back wall, he said, "Have you ever seen how fast they can stop?" And about that time, I hit the front wall of the train engine. So they will go 0 to 60 probably as fast as a Corvette. It was unreal. I had a whole new respect for something that heavy.
That's one thing that I always wanted to film is how fast a loaded coal train will accelerate compared to a priority train, which they put a lot of power on it and it's got little weight. Because our acceleration goes by miles per hour accelerating per minute. So the highest I've seen it is 60 miles per hour in a minute. And I know that's in a loaded train. And I've seen them stop at 90 miles per minute. That's in a critical situation, though.
So Bobcat asks, he wants to see the new crane. I just had it out here. I'll grab it again. What? Sorry, my family's yelling in the background. But so here it is, Bobcat. And we're almost there. Boy, it looks like me operating sometimes when it's windy.
If any of your crew's watching, they're like, "No, that's all the time."
What?
If any of your crew is watching, they're like, "No, that's all the time."
Yeah, it was swinging like that.
What type of freight do I haul in that area? Anything from coal to toilet paper to stuff that you don't want to know about.
Yeah, stuff that would freak you out, like probably nuclear stuff. And
absolutely. Yeah, there's sometimes I'll look at my paperwork and see what I'm hauling, and it's the military stuff that scares me the most. It's everything that they take overseas, primed, ready to go. I fold that paper up and put it away. I don't want to look at it.
David McLean, is that a model of the Tadano? It is. It's a 150th scale model of the crane that I operate. Actually, it's a 160G-5, which is basically the same exact specs. What is the hand signal for the pill that took me out? I got a family-friendly channel. I can't really show that hand signal. Can you like do a little play where the truck have to take something off a truck? That I would. That thing's not really much of a toy, though. It's kind of a conversation piece, and I mean it'll work good for if you guys have questions about stuff. I can point it out on it, but yeah, it actually is really hard to make it boom up and down and retract. So I'm not going to play with it. I'll just look at it. It is holding, generally, I have it holding these two things that I use during editing. One of them's 16 gig thumb drive, and then this is micro SD to USB adapter. So I generally have them hanging on the hook on my desk. That way I know where they're at. But today, since it's Memorial Weekend, it's got a miniature American flag on it. And really, that thing's kind of heavy. I don't know if you guys watched the video of when I unboxed it, but with all the counterweights and everything on it, I'm going to say it's between 9 and 11 pounds. But if you boom it down too far and take two of the counterweights off, it will tip over. Chris Rowland, hate to go, but I've been caught. Catch you next time. Hey, thanks for stopping in, Chris, and always being engaged and watching my content. So what's everybody's weekend plans? How's everybody's weekend shaping up?
Thank you, Chris. Have a good weekend.
Oh, Bobcat. Oh, that's a good question, Jerome. Safety rules for a thunderstorm. Wind is definitely a factor. I don't know if you guys watched that video of setting that tall cell phone tower, but the wind about got me on that one. We had all 197 feet of main boom out, 43 feet of jib on the end of it. That was before we were topping the tower out, but the wind had been calm all day long, 8 to 10 miles an hour. And out of nowhere, I got hit with a 44-mile-an-hour wind gust right in the side. So it basically took, perfect time for a model reference. So it was basically configured just like this with less counterweight. I only had 53,000 pounds on, which I know sounds like a lot, but for that crane, that's not a lot. But this part of the jib, and I had it straight up. I didn't have the offset in it. But this part of the jib was about 10 feet to the left of the bottom of the crane and was making a 10-foot diameter circle. It was just sitting there spinning in a circle or moving in a circle. And then I had the pill on, which is 661 pounds, and it was 20 feet left of the end of the boom. So, yeah, it was a scary situation. But lightning, Bobcat asked specifically about lightning.
Just for future reference, where your head was right there, your microphone is very directional. So if you could lift that up next time.
So like that.
Find a way to elevate it to mouth level.
Let's see if I can throw something under it.
Oh, that was just for future reference. You sound fine.
As far as lightning goes, my rule is if it's within 20 miles of me, it's time to get the tip of the boom out of the air.
You used to work at a job that if you saw lightning, you had to quit.
Yeah, and I keep track of it on an app on my phone. I use WeatherBug, and WeatherBug has a lightning tracker on it. And if it's within 20 miles, I don't operate.
And there was a comment that has scrolled by. If there is a load on your crane, can you leave it? Can you leave your crane?
You can get out of the seat, and that's written in the OSHA standard. And I've had people argue with me about it. If I've got a load hanging on the hook, and I need to climb out of the cab, I can physically climb out of the cab, but I have to stay right next to the crane, and I can't be engaged in any other duties.
Tasks. Yeah. So no brakes.
No brakes. But I don't get out of the crane if I've got a load on the hook, unless I've got to yell at somebody for something. And I don't mean like scrutinize them, like get someone's attention. I try not to yell. I will have very pointed discussions from time to time with people on a job site, but I'm not a yeller when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Wayne, would that be, I don't even know where you live, so I'm going to take a stab at it. It's going to be Bristol, Talladega, or Daytona?
Turk 317, he's worked out crane basket. It's amazing how much harder the wind can blow up in the air. That's a true story. Whenever I do anything that's way up in the air, I make sure my anemometer is installed. I can take the anemometer off the crane and store it in the lower cab. And if I'm doing something that's low to the ground and I don't have much boom rain out, I typically don't worry about it. But if it's up in the air, I have the anemometer on it. Indianapolis. Fellow Midwesterner.
Let's see, it was several managers ago. Don't ever be a manager for the railroad. They go through them like crazy. I don't know how he calculated it, but it cost $840. That was 3 years ago. $840 to take a train from a stop to full speed. So what does it cost to sit? I don't know, but they don't like us to do it. They have 400 gallons in their fuel tank. They usually load them up to about 3,300 due to splash around.
You said 400 gallons. It's actually about 4,000.
We'll take 4,000. And my wife's getting a screwdriver for something. And some paper. So from Jefferson City to Kansas City, it is 253 miles. Loaded, it takes 600 gallons, and empty, it takes 400 gallons. That is per motor.
Dickard with Dave makes a valid point. Economically, it could be millions for a train to sit. That's true. I'm going to venture to say it costs more for Randy's train to sit than it does for my crane to sit. But. Oh yeah, Bobcat makes it spin the basket. Funny story on that. I had a crane set up with some jib on it. I think I had about 170 feet of tip height or so, and the man basket. And the cutoff for man basket work per OSHA is 20 miles per hour, and we were under the 20 miles per hour, but it was approaching that. It was probably around 18 or so. But we were sitting behind some grain elevators. So the grain elevators were blocking the wind everywhere except for the tip of the boom. And there was some smart aleck guy on the ground that was definitely not afraid of heights, and you couldn't scare him with anything. And he wanted to go up in the man basket to do some work or whatever. And I told him it was too windy up there, that he wouldn't like it. And he insisted. So up he went. And as soon as he cleared the tops of the grain elevators, that basket started spinning like a top. And before I got him to the ground, he was laying down in the bottom of the basket. Dominic Keys, what's the heaviest object you lifted and how high do you lift it? The heaviest thing I've lifted was a shaft out of a gas turbine generator. It's about 170,000 pounds, but we didn't have to lift it very high. Randy got another railroad question from Jerome. The trains in their area have multiple engines. Are they radio controlled by one engineer, or are there multiple engineers?
Let me read that. The trains I see in our area have multiple engines, probably two, and they are radio controlled by one engineer. Are they? Or multiple engineers? Actually, the engineers shot themselves in the foot. Well, so did the conductors. The engineers union, the BLET, the conductors union, it's SMART now. I don't remember what that stands for. Sheet metal workers and transportation. So that includes airlines, everything to do with transportation. We gave away engineers for $16 a shift to run remotes. So there are no engineers on remote jobs. Those are conductors, and there's a conductor and a brakeman. So there are two people operating the train, but only one person has control at a time. Although if either of those people fall down and the remote control box falls out of a 45-degree angle, it goes into emergency and a fall down feature is engaged, and a 911 distress call is called out to the dispatcher for safety reasons.
I think he may have been referring to trains you see rolling down the rail that have like 3 in the head, 3 in the tail, maybe 1 or 2 in the middle. All of those are controlled by the head engine, correct?
Okay, yeah. If you're talking about an actual train running down the rail, depending where you are, you might actually see a remote controlled train. I hope you don't. I really hope you don't. But otherwise, no, it is still one engineer, one conductor. The lead locomotive has radio communication, actually wired communication to the engines on the head end, and radio communication to the middle motor or the rear motor. And anytime that communication is cut, the train stops.
Probably for good reason.
Yeah. There's actually been a time, and there's a reason for that, and a reason why they stepped up their safety for that. A train had lost communication with the rear motor, and the train came to a stop. Okay, glad I answered your question. A train came to a stop, and it lost communication with the rear motor. So the rear motor was stuck in notch 8. It's just like a gas pedal, except for we have notches, 1 through 8. Figure that accordingly. 8's pedal to the metal. So anyway, it's in notch 8, and the head end has come to a stop, and the whole train has stopped. So the rear engine is just back there doing a burnout, and it burnt through the rail all the way down into the ballast. So
that's expensive.
Yeah. That's a lot of spinning too.
Well, it's not like you're just going to go in there and shut it off, though.
And
Hey, Daddy's life, how are you?
That's some heavy steel to be grinding through with some more heavy steel.
Another funny story back in my railroad days. Oh yeah, my dogs are playing. But I had a railroad foreman bet me that I couldn't walk heel to toe for 40 feet on a piece of rail. And I was on jointed rail, and he had me start with my heel at one joint. And I walked heel to toe across the top of that rail and never stepped off. And he said, "Where's my $10?" I said, "I never stepped off the rail." It was 38-foot lengths of rail. So figure that out. I think that's a pretty common joke that railroaders play on the newbies.
Actually, since you've told me that, you are still the only person that I've heard.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. So we got 17 people hanging out still.
That's pretty good.
So there's got to be some more questions in there somewhere. Someone's just afraid to ask them. You guys hear a bunch of background noise? I hope not. Well, I don't know what to make of that one.
To inspire. To give.
I'm going to side with Randy on that. That's a pretty good explanation there. I've seen the guys use an excavator to dig out rail cars and climb up those big platforms like 8 feet tall. I actually used to run a car topper. If you want to find that on YouTube, it's a modified backhoe. You climb on top of a train and unload rail cars with it. David McLean, you have questions about customers prohibiting cameras. I do have some customers that they prohibit any video recording on their site. And I also have some that are a little more flexible. And really, if I'm in the cab of the crane and I've got the camera pointed only at the crane, it doesn't really make much difference anyway. Can't I make the case that the cameras are for my security? No, I don't think that that's going to fly, especially when they see the To the Top Crane sticker on my hard hat with the YouTube logo and all that stuff with it. Blue Wolf bread's cooked. Oh, did Blue Wolf make homemade bread? That's my vice. We need to go to Germany ASAP. Oh, David McLean wants to see what's on the hook. You must be referencing that video that I did when I was stretched out over the top of that building. I can tell you what was on the hook. It was about a 300-pound piece of a rooftop unit. It wasn't anything spectacular. How many?
I'm still wondering what he wants to know.
Who's that? Bobcat? How many weights can a crane have? I'm sure that's probably where he's going to. That varies by the crane. I've seen some, actually one of the biggest cranes in the world uses shipping containers full of concrete or rock for counterweight. And there's like 60 of them. So the crane I operate, it's got 1, 2, 3 slabs and 2 wing weights. And it's a total counterweight package of 110,000 pounds. Dominic Keys, what's my service area? We'll go wherever someone wants to pay us to go. I mean, we typically don't range out further than about 100 miles because it gets pretty cost prohibitive. And crane companies do kind of overlap a little bit. So, yes, Volkswagen and Nissan. Yeah, a lot of the auto manufacturers don't allow cameras on their property at all because proprietary work practices and building manufacturing processes.
Have I told you how much this pop blocker, how good this pop blocker smells?
Yes, you have. Videos by Al. How do we set the wing weights? I'll pop one of these off of this little model and I'll show you. Because they are exactly like the big ones. So, I don't know if anybody can see that or if you guys can all see that. Those little tabs actually slide into a notch on the top slab of counterweight. And then right here where these little indentions are, they're actually lifting eyes that we can slip our rigging into and pick them up. David McLean, was the power plant lift in Missouri City done for Independence Power and Light? You must be referring to the 80,000 pound or 70-some thousand pound hydrogen tank that I lifted, and that was at Independence Power and Light off of 210 Highway.
I like Josh Wall's comment at the very top.
What made me start making YouTube videos other than what you do is very interesting.
I'd like to answer that myself.
Yeah, Randy can answer that because Randy knows the answer to that.
I was talking to Jimmy one day. I've been doing YouTube since 2009. I have an old channel. Not going to tell you what it is because it doesn't matter. But I just video recorded things that I liked and put them on there. And when it first started out, it just started to be ways to share videos. Like if my dog was doing something silly out in the backyard and I wanted to show my mom, that was before you could send videos through the phone. So I started, just put it on YouTube, send her a link. Hey, go watch this. It was a free software backup program for me, really. And then I got interested into subscribing to people. And I started mostly watching gun channels. I'm sure a lot of you know Hickok 45, Nut and Fancy, some of my favorite channels. And I just started watching them. And then I got into the lawn care community. And for some stupid reason, I enjoy watching something to look at. All the guy does is stick a camera on his mower and mows in real time. Sometimes he'll fast forward it, but that's all he does is mow. And he has close to 40,000 subscribers. Some people just like to sit and watch something. I don't know why. It's like they just veg out on it. And I do it a lot myself. And then you've got Let's Dig. Let's keep it real. He's not a super interesting guy. He puts a camcorder or a GoPro on his back window. He does his work. He talks a little bit. I don't think he even ever says bye. He just turns the camera off and uploads it. And how many subscribers is he at? 45?
About 117,000.
I was a couple off. So he's at 117,000 and he doesn't do anything. He just films what he does during the day. And that's just common. That's common heavy equipment operations.
Well, yes and no. I'm going to stop you real quick on that one because being a heavy equipment operator, Chris has got something a lot of people don't have.
Skill.
that dude has got to be one of the best hoe operators I've ever seen, ever, anywhere.
Yeah, I've watched him completely throw down a Volvo operator. Did you see when he went to the convention and he ran the Volvo
Yeah.
operator or
Sandy.
yeah. Oh yeah, he completely killed that. So I was like, you know what? You run a machine that not too many people get to see, let alone know about. I promise you, if you get a channel started, I'm not going to lie. I did encourage a little bit of clickbait during the beginning. Found out that he didn't need that, and I'm like, people will sit down and veg out on your videos just because they want to watch it. He didn't. Well, he wasn't into YouTube, so he didn't know that people actually watch. Sorry, boring stuff just because they don't get to do it. And it's happening, and it's happening a lot quicker than what I thought it would. And he's going to keep on growing. So that is how he got started, because I said people will watch. If you build it, they will come. And it's very true. I watch his stuff. I watch a lot of heavy equipment operator stuff. It's just something fun. I don't even know if it's fun. It's just something cool to sit down and watch other people do things that you can't do. You may be able to do it, but you're not capable of doing it, if that makes sense.
Well, and I've actually taken it a step further at this point. I mean, shortly after doing it, I had some engaged audience members that were kids, and realized that this could be a very real outlet to add to the stuff that like Mike Rowe's doing with Micro Works, bringing the trades back to the forefront of people's minds. So for years and years and years, our country has pushed college education down everybody's throat, and has put the trades by the wayside. And it's actually done our country a terrible disservice, because in doing so, we have lost the ability, or are losing the ability, to take care of our own needs in our own country. So by showcasing my trade, maybe I'm getting some kids interested, and will understand that you can earn a decent living just by using your brain, your hands, and sweating it out a little bit.
Yeah, and it's those people in those offices that are stuck in those cubicles that may have wished that they would have went out in the field. You know, there's some of them that are going home and being they want to see what they could have been doing, and you know, vicariously live a different life on YouTube for an hour or two a day. And
I second that, Wayne Thorpe. And I actually commented on Mike Rowe's Facebook page the other day, and I got a like out of Mike Rowe on my comment. I was pretty stoked about that. I mean, for little old me with 800 subscribers on YouTube, to get a comment from a person such as that.
And Blue Wolf, you are correct. Jimmy's doing great at keeping his channel. Very true. If you go over to my channel, I'd say about 50% of it's bull crap. But I like to put in the comedy content. I do put out what I do put out is honest, but you know, when it comes to fishing, hunting, and shooting, it's kind of boring just to sit around and watch someone talk about an item for a while. So I like to throw in some falsified stories here and there.
Dickered with Dave said he lost audio. Did you lose all audio or just lose Randy's audio?
Wasn't mine.
Because I can hear Randy. Hey, thanks, Jay McCracken. I appreciate that. I mean, that going back to the honest and be myself. I mean, my channel is always going to be that way. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm not going to try to change how anything is just to get someone to subscribe or to watch my content. They either want to watch it or they don't. Yeah, what you'll get out of me is real.
In the beginning, when I was telling you to do that, that was just to jumpstart.
Oh, I knew it was.
Yeah.
And even then, I would rather grow at a snail's pace, or I'd rather have 500 engaged viewers and have a real channel than have some make believe crap that's being posted out there that's worse than mainstream TV with 15 million subscribers. I mean, I don't want to live in a fantasy land, and I don't want anybody else to live in a fantasy land because of what I'm doing on my channel.
Yeah, it's that organic growth that's going to stay longer than someone who pays for some or does a lot of giveaways or something of that sort. So if you stick around and get me to 1,000 subscribers, I will do a giveaway.
Randy can do a giveaway. I'll give away some stickers or something. You guys just got to email me. Josh Wall, I think watching a true tradesman work is a thing of art. I appreciate that, Josh. I don't know that I'm necessarily a true tradesman. I just sit on my butt and pull levers. When they get my crane, they get me from here down.
That is another part of the watch engagement that I saw on your channel. It's just people enjoy watching people do things.
Well, and I try to be engaged with the people that are watching my channels. I don't know if you guys notice, but I try to comment on every comment that I get, and it's rather difficult to keep up. And I'm sure as I continue to grow, it's going to be even harder to keep up. But I feel that if someone's taking the time out of their day to watch my content, I'm going to take a few seconds out of my day to send them a thanks or even a smiley face or something. And I know there's going to be a point in time where I can't get to everybody, but I want everybody to know that I'm going to give it my best effort. And let's see. The email address, jmccracken, tothetopcrane@gmail.com.
What is it?
tothetopcrane@gmail.com. And when you guys email me, keep in mind that this is my side gig that I'm going into my busy season. So it may take me a little bit of time to get stuff out or respond to emails, but I'm pushing into the season where we're going to be doing 60 and 80-hour work weeks. So just editing videos alone is going to take up the rest of my free time probably. Wayne Tharpy's heard the summer slower for views and new subs. And I really think that that's probably true because people are outside, and they should be outside enjoying the nice weather and doing stuff with their families and not being stuck inside, which I've actually been ridiculed by my wife just tonight about the time I've spent on YouTube trying to get this thing grown and going. Oh, yes. Thank you to my family. I'll tell my wife that. And Randy, 850. Dominic Keys, how do you keep yourself focused on the complexities of the job?
888.
With my job, complete focus is necessary. Now, some jobs are more complex than others. There are times when, I mean, I can't say that I'm more lax, which I'm not lax. The biggest thing with cranes is your setup. If your setup is wrong, then everything's a catastrophe after that. So that's why I tend to not make a lot of video when I'm setting the crane up, because I am tuned in 100% to what I'm doing to get that crane set up correctly. And I'll try to get more footage of crane setup in the future. But that's not my priority. My priority is always the crane, and videos come second, and setup is critical. So then once I get the crane set up, if I'm on a kind of a mundane job with some downtime or whatever, it may sound silly, but a lot of times I will sit in the cab of the crane and review my load charts, because memorizing the stuff that's in my phone book size load chart is very important. Logger Wade, hey guys, stop by to say hi. Hi, Logger Wade, and I got your stuff. You have clothed my family and I appreciate that. And we got some Logger Wade goodies that I'm going to try to stash one on the crane somewhere and get it on some video, and I'll have one on my truck. So Logger Wade has been also instrumental in giving my channel a pretty quick boost. So hats off to Logger Wade. And if I'd say 99% of my subs have come from Logger Wade. So if there is anybody that's not watching him, go watch Logger Wade. He's a riot.
I do not want to thank Logger Wade because just this morning Jimmy was 100 subs behind me, and now he's right on my tail, and he's going to reach 1,000 before me. So
Randy's a little bitter with Logger Wade right now because Logger Wade has kind of helped put a little boost in me. But Logger Wade, when we first started talking back and forth, he's like, I can't believe someone with your skill would want to follow a channel like mine. And what Logger Wade does with some of that equipment and with a chainsaw blows my mind. As much as some of the stuff I do with a crane probably blows his mind, it just floors me that he can walk up to the nastiest looking, biggest tree, look up that thing twice, and then shove a saw on the side of it with reckless abandon and lay it down within inches of where he wanted it. If he almost took out his cell phone the other day with a tree that he took down with his feller, and that tree went right next to his cab, and I think there was leaves touching his phone, but nothing knocked it over. So Logger Wade's got some skills. And that stuff intrigues me as much as he's probably intrigued by the crane side of what I do. What he does is just as astonishing. It's just a different outlet, different machinery, different way of life, different job.
yeah, I watch plenty of arborists. Human is one of my favorite tree channels to go to.
Logger Wade, it helps not to think in our profession. Is that camera mount still working that you broke? You didn't have that thing 10 minutes and snap the corner off of it. That looks like we're lagging. Oh, there it went. Yeah, so I sent Logger Wade a couple magnetic camera mounts. He sticks one on top of his skidder, heads down the road. We'll imagine that this is his little rig that he's got going on. And let's say it's 13.6 tall. The tree limb was about 12.6. Took it off the top of the skidder, piled it up in the bottom of his trailer, and broke one corner of the magnet off. So, and it was an irony. I sent him a text. I said, hey, you might want to put a tether on that just in case something were to knock it off. And that happened. I think I sent him that text right after it happened because he said, are you psychic? And I said, no, psycho possibly, but psychic, no.
I don't think one little corner off of that's going to hurt anything, is it?
No, it should still hold fine. These magnets, if you stick them on a piece of 3/4 or 1 inch plate, the three magnets together have about 30 pounds or so of pulling power. Logger Wade, sometimes good shots are hard to come by. And it was funny. I was watching that video and I saw that tree limb coming. And I'm like, oh no, it ain't going to survive that one. The magnet mount survived, but it didn't stay on. I love it better now with some character. Yeah, chicks dig scars. So how's things in southern Indiana, Wade? Probably hot. Oh, we're approaching the 8 o'clock mark. I said I was going to end this at 8, but we've got 19 people still tuned in. So I don't know. If we keep getting some questions and people are engaged, then we might run a little bit later. I don't know. What time you got to be at work, Randy?
2 o'clock.
Oh. No, send some of that rain up here, Wade. It's dry. Dry bad. We're almost in a drought. Where is the Paul Bunyan show? where and when. And I don't know what I would bring to the show. I mean, I guess I could be there to say hi to everybody, but. Oh, Ohio. I
See,
don't know
that's
about
one of the
Ohio.
silly things about watching other people do work that you don't like to do, like weed eating. I don't know what it is. I have a fascination with weed eating and mowing. I just like to watch things get done. I actually go to the biggest lawn mowing. It's the GIE, Green Industries Expo. It's the largest one in the United States every year, and that's held in wherever the horse races are. It'll come to me.
Kentucky.
There you go.
Which, for those that are geographically challenged, Randy, that would be southeast of us.
What town is that in? Louisville.
Louisville.
Yeah, I drive all the way there just to meet all the YouTubers, and it's crazy to meet some of them. It's crazy that some of them even know who I am. So
I'm going to cut you off real quick, Randy, because Doug Harrison's heading out. I appreciate you stopping in. Thanks for watching. Wade's jumping off too. Thanks for stopping in, Wade. Thanks for the goodies.
Mr. Wade, I do appreciate your efforts in getting to Jimmy where he is. A little bitter, but I do appreciate it a lot.
Wade doesn't care if you're bitter. Anyway, back to your lawn expo. I know you go down there just to visit with people and meet new people.
Yeah, but it is neat to see people that you don't really get to.
Oh, Wade, this is Randy with G4 Outdoors. Go check him out. He does a lot of outdoor stuff. You'll enjoy his stuff.
Hope you enjoy my stuff. Yeah, it's neat to actually see people that you don't really. You become family with a lot of these people on YouTube. In a way. Some of them are characters. Some of them they're all real people, but you feel like you know them, and you really become, man, it's a YouTube family, really. It
really is. That's one thing Wade told me. He said it does turn into like a YouTube family.
Yeah.
And Turk 317, he said he's really enjoying the live feed. I'm definitely going to do another one. I don't know how often I will do them. I will probably leave that up to you guys to tell me how often you want to see me talking. How often you want to see this beard.
Yeah, this is a holiday weekend, and you've been pretty consistent at 18 to 20. That's pretty good.
Ticker to Dave Weekly. I don't know that I can pull off a live stream every week. My wife was less than impressed with my YouTube habits lately. So I'm not doing this YouTube to lose anything. I'm not doing this YouTube necessarily to gain anything either. Just, spreading a little message. Appreciate the trades and letting people see what I do every day. I'm actually astounded so many people are interested in what I do. Dominic Keys, what's the next big job? I may have I've got some footage of a house that we just set the other day.
Was that the quad or tri or?
No, it was just a modular 2 pieces set on a basement. I've got another one possibly next week. We're trying to decide which crane to send. Our 100-ton crane could probably do it, and the site's pretty small, so it may end up going and doing it, and I won't be in that one. But I do have one coming up that is a 4-section modular house, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it might be a 2-story, so that'll be a fun one. Yeah, Dominic Keesey said he saw that. That actually, that house video was a few months ago. I've got another house video that I haven't edited it yet. I'm about 10 days behind on my editing.
Blue Wolf, Man, I'm out of words. Blue Wolf, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, Blue Wolf. You're a very engaged subscriber, and I love it. Let's see, Dicker, would they have? How far out do we know? Sometimes we've got stuff that's planned months in advance. Like about the middle of June, I've got to go over into Kansas and pick a 117,000-pound propane tank. And that's been in the books for a couple months. And then other times we show up to work and they're like, "Hey, go get in the crane. This guy just called, go pick this up." So they can change by the second. What's the max lift at max reach? Okay, the max radius on that crane is 249 feet. That's with 103 feet of jib, 110,000 pounds of counterweight. And I'm going by memory because I don't look at that part of my load chart very often, but I'm thinking it's right around 2,500 pounds or so.
Is that what Dave does, is helicopter lifts?
I think he has done some. It looks like he has. And I've got a good story about a helicopter lift that kind of went south. I wasn't involved in it, but I saw it happen.
Dave, is that heavy lifting or is that like taking linemen up lifting? That's interesting. I do enjoy watching that stuff. That's a dangerous, skilled, very skilled stuff there.
I was watching a helicopter lift, been several years ago. That was back when I was mechanicing for that equipment rental company. And they were setting some units on a big building up by Maryville. And the wind got up and the pilot had to ditch the load. So he swung over the next parking lot, hit the button, and let her rip. And dropped that air conditioning unit from 150 or so feet up in the air.
That was recorded, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was.
That was quite a while back. I wish I had that footage. That'd be a good one. Be even better if they would have put a camera on the unit before they ditched it. That's one thing that sucks about the crane I operate. It doesn't have a ditch button. When things start going south, it's up to you to get the load to the ground in as a controlled fashion as you can. Oh, Turk. You are crazy. You definitely need to start uploading some video. If you're doing helicopter work and being a lineman, dude, you're just like Randy told me, I will wave at you as your channel goes flying by me.
Yep. That's one of those things. A lot of people are afraid of heights. It's fun to watch from the ground. But I can watch people climb trees all day long. My hands sweat and I'm still afraid in my chair, but it's something that I can't do. I just, my mind will not let me get above 10 feet in a tree. So watching you do it is a heck of a lot more fun than watching me do it. But I bet you would enjoy watching me do it. That's for sure.
You know, I get the question sometimes just in comments, and I get it from people when I'm out on a job. They're like, do you ever get nervous doing this? And absolutely. And to give you guys an idea of sometimes how nervous I get, if I go back and watch that video of that really tall cell phone tower where I've got all the inserts in, it still makes my palms sweat.
Turk says he needs to invest in some better camera equipment and get started soon. Jimmy, would you hold up that little session and talk about that just real quick?
Actually, I'll show you guys the gear that I use, all of it. This goes on the end of the crane. And this is a Hero 5 session. It's a GoPro. You can pick them up for $200. It's rechargeable. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's got internal batteries that you can't replace. But if you are, oh, sorry. But if you are going to record for a long period of time, you can take the battery cover off and you can plug in like a battery bank, and it'll keep it going. I think I got a 64 gig micro SD in this one, but you can get started with one of these relatively inexpensively. They're very durable. They're waterproof to, I think, 30 feet, and it will shoot, I believe, 4K. I never shoot in 4K because editing 4K would probably be a nightmare for me since I do a lot of fast forward and picture and stuff. So I do everything in 1080 at 30 frames per second.
That's a really good option just to stick onto a hard hat or something like that.
And it lives in this mount. Sorry about my dogs again. But it lives in this mount for the most part. This is the one I stick on the end of the crane, and I can use it other places. But that would be an inexpensive entry into your filming career, Turk. And then the other one I use is this is just a Hero 5 Black. And I've got 3 batteries for it. It's also waterproof to 30 feet, and they're pretty durable, as Wade has proven. I think his is actually broken on the corner, and it still works. And I use it in, this might shake for a second, but I stuck my suction cup mount to my monitor stand. So I use it in this. And you notice it's got a string on it. That's for if I'm sticking it outside the cab, like on a mirror or something, I can tie it off so I don't lose all of this and run over it. If I ran over this with 5 of those tires on the crane, it would be gone. But so that's all I've got for recording gear. Hey, Elite Earthworks made it back in time.
Yeah, so there's no need to go out and spend thousands of dollars on some video gear.
No, and really, one of these cell phones nowadays have 15 megapixel cameras in them.
Yeah.
It's unreal the footage you can get just with a cell phone.
Besides the options, my iPhone is better than my $600 camera that I use most of the time.
Videos by Al. Ask me if I can free spool the line. No, there's no free spool on that crane. Elite Earthworks smashed his 5 with a rock, and it's still ticking. And Elite Earthworks, I apologize, and I was going to try to make it a surprise. And I found your YouTube, or not your YouTube, I found your Facebook page, and I sent a message to you, and evidently you're not much of a Facebooker, and your wife takes care of your Facebook page. So I was conversing with your wife about one of these magnet mounts. I'm going to get one to you. It's just taken me a little bit more time than I anticipated. I planned on having it out to you 2 weeks ago, and that hasn't happened. I apologize, but you will have one in Joplin to stick your camera on the boom of your mini excavator or wherever you want to stick it. Just put a tether on it because Wade has proven that you can knock them off.
Mark Mortensen. I used to watch Buck and Billy Ray all the time. He is probably the funniest and most personable arborist out there. And I have no need for an axe, but I really want to buy one of his axe handles because he makes great looking axes.
Let's see. I don't know why Turk's comment, I had to approve it. Oh, probably because of the way it was worded about it. It was like maybe he was fishing for subs, but so yeah, Turk, I approved your comment. I don't know why it asked me to approve it, but I approved it. Make some videos. We'll sub to it. West Coast Logging's in the house. Hey, West Coast Logging.
Turk 317. Do you have a channel right now?
Elite Earthworks. She runs that, and you want to pay me for it. All right, Elite Earthworks. I'll make a deal with you. I'll send you them out. Next time you're up in the area, you can buy dinner.
Okay, Turk, if you have a channel right now, you I'm guessing you don't have any videos up because your channel's not even searchable. So you'll have to get that up there first because yeah, I tried searching it on another tab and it didn't come up. But if you're in the comments on Jimmy's, like after this is over, I'd leave some comments after this. After this is over and uploaded, do some comments on that. I'll find you and sub to you.
Gotta check my count here, Randall.
The race is on. Here it comes. 889.
I've kind of stalled out. I'm at 850.
Good deal. All right.
I figured that you would be happy with that. How are we doing? We're doing good. How are you doing, West Coast? And Elite Earthworks said done. How often do you make it up this way? You're about 3.5 hours south of me. And I encourage everybody to go over there and check out Elite Earthworks. He does some good work.
Where's he at? St. Louis-ish?
Joplin.
Joplin.
His YouTube name is his company name. So if you guys are in the Southwest Missouri area and need work done with a skid loader or mini excavator, I would look him up.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm subscribed to Elite.
I hope you are.
Elite Earthworks LLC.
Oh, West Coast Logging is a yarder logger in Oregon. He's about as crazy as Turk. Those guys do some logging in some crazy terrain.
Well, I apologize. 41 subscribers now.
Dominic Keys is the crane. Yes, that is the biggest crane that our company has. We've got cranes ranging. Our smallest crane is a 4-ton Broderson, and when you're sitting in it, half of you hangs out the cab because it's that small. New to the YouTube, just subscribe and create a channel because your content came from us.
See, and that's another thing. You, what's the meaning of life? Encourage. Your channel will encourage other people to start their own YouTube channels.
I hope so. I mean, yeah. I encourage anybody to better themselves. And I mean, if YouTube is a way to better yourself and get a message out, then by all means. Lester and Tomlinson created a YouTube channel just because of my content. That's awesome. How did the 50-ton from Cedar Rapids work out? It's actually it's a pretty good rig. I've only operated it once. I had it out the other day on a job, and it's a pretty nice rig.
Elite, you're just coming up with excuses. It only seems like you don't have enough time to edit. When actually you're sitting right here watching Jimmy.
Yeah, he pounded out some video content, just one right after another when he first got rolling. And I told him, I was like, dude, you probably ought to not post more than 3 a day.
Oh, is that what he did?
Yeah, save some of that stuff in a bucket for when you have some slow time or need to fill something in.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't do more than 1 video a day. I try to do 2 to 3 a week, and I'm going to try to squeeze a live stream in every few weeks if I can get it done.
Yeah, I try to get a video out every 1 to 2 days.
Randy, you are. Randy want to know where Randy's channel started blowing up the last few days. And he's like, man, I don't know where it's coming from. I said, it was probably the fact that you just uploaded 6 weeks worth of videos in 2 days because he uploaded 2 videos in 2 days or 3 days. And there for a while, he hadn't done anything for like 6 weeks. Alex, Westcote out. Do I have trouble finding good mounts to stick on the crane? I do not. I make my own mounts. West Coast. Make my own magnet mounts. And I've had people ask me, what are those magnets for? These are actually cow magnets. So there's 3 individual magnets epoxied together. I've got a coating of silicone on the bottom to give it a little friction so they don't slide. And but they're cow magnets. They're for the cattle industry. They take one of these magnets and they make a cow swallow it, and it helps prevent hardware disease is what they call it. So when a cow's grazing, if they pick up staples or whatever as they're grazing, they'll be attracted to these magnets and it'll stay in the first chamber stomach and keep it from traveling throughout the digestive system. But they're extremely powerful. So they work good for holding the GoPro. And they're those mounts are not logger wade proof. He broke the corner off of one. But I'm in the process of designing one in my head that I think would be logger wade proof. And I'm going to build it, and then I'm going to drive over it with my crane and see if it handles that. And if it handles that, then it will handle logger wade. Yeah, Elite Earthworks. It's still working. It does work. But correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, but I think yarder logging is where you're yanking the logs up the side of a mountain with an overhead cable system. I don't think that they would handle that. I think I've seen some of that on where they're just ripping those logs up the side of a mountain. It's ridiculous. And that to me is as crazy as Turk and his power lines. Some people think that what I do is crazy, with the crane. Like, oh, I can't believe you do the stuff you do with that crane. It's like, do you think my profession's crazy? You got to see some of the other crazy people out there. Wow, we're like 2 hours and 17 minutes in. When you hear that diesel screaming. Whenever I'm going down the highway, you can hear that one screaming. That poor little V8 Mercedes is working its butt off. It's getting about 1 mile per gallon and using about 5 gallons of DEF every 150 miles or so.
On the topic of DEF, I was watching Let's Dig's. I don't know what video it was, but he went out to that muddy place and
when he's servicing his machine.
1 gallon per fill.
What?
Of DEF.
1 gallon per fill on what?
1 gallon of DEF per 1 fill of fuel.
That's probably about right.
That's disgusting.
I am going to go to the West Coast Alex right after this live feed, and I'm going to watch this video. I'm probably going to binge watch some of them and subscribe. But yeah, that DEF, it depends on how hard you're working the machine as how much DEF it uses. Check the fuel and fill the DEF. True story. Oh, you've got a straight piped 8V71? That's awesome. Nothing sounds better than an old straight pipe 2-stroke diesel. Actually, SB Scotty, if you guys haven't watched any of his videos, he's got a lot of truck show videos, and there's some straight pipes Detroits in some of the trucks. Yeah, those Detroits, man, they sound like they're coming apart. They can be running 2,000 RPM and sound like they're coming apart. Lead earthworks, can you still operate the crane? Actually, with mine, with the DEF system and the way it's set up, I don't know that it actually regens. I think it just kind of keeps itself cleaned out as I'm operating. But I did find out you can't still operate the crane when it goes into limp mode. We had to fly a guy in from Houston to get it out of limp mode last year because the DEF system screwed up. And yeah, you can, limp mode gives you enough power to retract the boom, set your load on the ground, all that good stuff. And then if you shut the crane off, it may not restart. So if it goes into limp mode, first thing you do is set your load on the ground, retract it, lay the boom in the rack, and call for help because there's nothing that you can do with it. Randy must be researching something.
Work.
Oh. Yeah, that is a huge pain for sure. My crane, what do I have for power in the crane? The upper portion, it's about 180 horsepower, 4-cylinder turbo Mercedes diesel. And then in the lower, it is about a 570 or 80 horsepower V8 Mercedes diesel. Brian 6180, I'm in love with Tier 4 final engines. I could do without the DEF systems and the DPFs. It's such a pain in the butt. I mean, I understand why it's on there, but I'm sure, and you guys just opened Pandora's box when it came to talking about the DEF systems. So here goes. You're paying good money for 60% water, 30% synthetic urine to put it in your exhaust system to try to save a little bit of greenhouse gas, but that 60% water, 30% or 40% urine that you just purchased in the plastic container took a bunch of petroleum products to make the plastic container. And then now you've got millions upon millions of these 2.5 gallon plastic containers floating around all over the earth because someone decided that they wanted a little less greenhouse gas out of a diesel engine in a crane. I mean, really? That is terrible.
Alex, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, Alex, thanks. I'm going to go check out your channel.
Happy anniversary.
Oh, yeah. 24 years. Yeah, happy anniversary to Alex. Better go make Mama happy. Might be the end of Alex. But yeah, that was my DEF rant. Sorry you guys got dragged into that one.
I was hoping I'd pull something out of you.
Oh, really? So that you were prodding. It's terrible. It really is terrible. All the people that incepted that did not have the forethought and planning to think about. I mean, people are mad about these. And now you got millions of 2.5 gallon containers that are thicker walled than this floating all over the place. Yeah, it's just crazy. End rant. What else do you want me to rant about? I'm sure I could get into some good ones. So what time you got to go in now, Randy?
Still 2 o'clock, but I'm probably going to guess on 1.
At some point, you probably ought to take a nappy nap.
I need to.
But not until I tell you my latest subscriber count. I'm stuck at 852.
Good deal. Good deal.
but I was at 850 like 5 or 10 minutes ago.
Did I say 889?
Yeah. What are you at now? I hope it's like 870 something.
889.
Oh. Josh Wellner is waiting to see it on fishing boats. I'm sure it's coming. Brian 61. I do not run tower cranes. I keep my feet pretty close to the ground. Yeah, I'm going to wrap this up in 6 minutes. That'd be 8:30. That's a half hour over. Randy's got to get some sleep. He works for the railroad. He's got to go into work at 2:00 in the morning. I got to sleep in tomorrow.
That means they're going to call me at midnight.
Oh, that's no good. Yeah, I want to thank Randy for partaking. He brings a lot to the table, has a lot of knowledge with railroad stuff, and he is really the reason why To the Top Crane exists. Actually, Randy is the one that came up with the name To the Top Crane. But if it weren't for Randy, I wouldn't have ever started this channel. So,
and I wouldn't get to see you as much.
There's that too. Which channel is Randy? Is G4 Outdoors. So, Randy, throw a link to your channel into the comments here. That way, everybody can go pay you a visit and give you a bunch of thumbs down and hopefully knock out your subscriber count. So I beat you to 1,000.
Thumbs down all you want. I just want thumbs.
No thumbs down. And actually, I'm going to throw something out there real quick before we wrap all this up.
I want to change my thumb up.
And
just have one.
And I know it's a lot to ask, but people don't understand when creators are creating YouTube content. Watching the entire video makes a big difference.
It does.
So if it's not too much to ask, when you guys click on starting a video, if you could, even if you're not going to watch the entire thing, just set your phone down and let it play. Fast forwarding through it, it counts against you. Watching 2 minutes of it counts against you. And in the YouTube algorithm world, according to their computers and the way they put your content up for people to find it, is they base a lot of it off your view time. So if you watch 2 or 3 minutes of a 20-minute video, that cuts your view time way down, and then YouTube's algorithm kind of cuts you out of the loop in recommending your video. So it does help to watch an entire video for the creators that you're tuned into. And I mean, I understand some of mine are like 30 minutes long, and you guys are going in and sitting on the toilet probably and flipping on my channel and watching me pick something up. And, you know, I get it. You're not going to watch a full 30-minute video, but the more of it you watch, the more it actually helps. So,
yeah, there's some of your stuff. There's a lot of people that do the videos that are long. Mark Mortensen, it's just G4 Outdoors. Thanks for asking. The longer videos, like some of Logger Wade's, Ron Pratt, your videos, a lot of times I'll put them on 2 times fast forward.
Yeah. And I mean, at least that way, if it's a 30-minute video, we're still getting 15 minutes of watch time.
Yeah.
On our analytics. And it does help. Hey, thanks everybody for stopping in. I'm still going to run this for another couple minutes. So if anybody's got anything they want to add, by all means, throw it out there. But I do appreciate each and every one of you for subscribing and being engaged and checking Randy out. And really, if you guys can get Randy to 1,000 before me, I encourage you to do so.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Oh, and Randy, you forgot to introduce Doug in the beginning.
I think hey.
Did you?
890.
Perfect.
This here is Doug Deere. He's a helpful side buddy on my live feeds. He depending on how late the chat goes, he starts putting in his own opinions on things. He starts tipping back the whiskey, and he's not too friendly.
All right, so everybody got Randy's channel lined out, G4 Outdoors. Go give him a sneak peek and make sure you give him some thumbs up. Because like I said, if it weren't for Randy, To the Top Crane wouldn't be here. My wife would probably be happier. My wife and daughter probably think they think I'm crazy for doing this. But I'll sub after he gets up. Josh Wellner's not going to sub to you till you get to the 1,000.
Thanks,
Josh. So, all right, everyone.
I'd like to sign myself out of here in G4 style, if you don't mind.
Let her rip, Tater Chip.
All right, everybody. Thanks for sticking around, G4 Outdoors. Actually, we're on To the Top Cranes video, but hey, everybody, thanks for sticking around. I am Randy with G4 Outdoors. We'll see you on the next one. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below, and we will see you in the next one. All right, you're up.